Last year, it was about $75 a bag. I got it this year.
We're gonna take up the collection.
Now we're live. Sweet. Figured it out.
We have areas of our dock that we are not replacing right now because not this year.
How are you?
Okay.
Uh-oh, this is my blood drive.
Good reminder.
This is just like my wife. She puts these all over my desk.
Well, that's what it takes. Thank you.
June 1.
Thank you.
Coming right up, isn't it?
Thank you.
I love that. Thank you.
4:30. That's pretty good timing.
Duncan,
Blood draw.
you'll get drunk real fast.
Is
Less blood in your system.
What's that?
Is that in the morning?
4:30 in the morning, nobody would show up.
They show up near my house in boats.
For a blood drive, though?
No, they should be having a blood drive.
We're live. Yep. I'm only controlling this computer from this computer. So. This is going to be our Streambox soon, but it didn't download everything quick enough. And it may overheat, so it may not be our Streambox. Until we get it figured out.
I like it. Wow.
That's impressive.
You guys all have it.
Why?
Just my finger.
Got it.
Is that really?
Quicker than I look.
All right. We can be flexible.
We got
It's a
3
nice
minutes
day.
before the meeting.
It's a nice day outside.
We can stand outside and wait for her.
We just would drop down to 72 and go back.
I like that idea.
Yes, that's an option.
So Marianne, did you fill up all the slots?
I think we've got 45 spots filled out of 52, but there could be drop-ins.
Okay, so they are allowing that this year?
We're not
I'm
live.
not advertising it, but.
We are live.
Yes, so anybody who knows wants.
We are very much so live.
Are there specific times that we could advertise?
Hey, the message I sent you
There, you want to
Sunday,
see yourself. We have 2 people watching.
I meant that for like this
Do
week
you ever know who they are?
sometime.
This week.
Do you know who they are?
I do
I
not.
had to go get 2 of them out of the bar that went in to pay their bill. And move their this weekend.
Where do you suggest they get a sign made up that quick?
I don't know. No parking. We got any new parking signs?
What's that for? Oh, for the item.
But I'll say it again, there's 3 of these down there. Somebody should be watching the phone, so they should be watching that parking right
It doesn't make any difference. They can go in and pay their bill and they'll go right into the bar.
there. Unhook the pontoon, push it out there.
Drift away. I had to go and get 2 of them.
Just
Oh,
take
they
a
got
joyride.
gas? They got gas and
Yeah,
stayed
they-
parked in the gas area?
Yeah.
Just go out and do donuts, come back, they'll have an empty tank, they'll fill back up.
All right, I guess we could just go ahead and start here. Okay, we're gonna start the ops meeting of 5/24/21. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you for those who are here to witness this meeting. And those of you who are participants. Wish Charlie Beard was here.
Hey, Charlie.
Matter of fact, he probably is. My wife says it, so I'll believe her. First meeting we're having after the opening of the restaurant at Heritage Lake Marina. And that's the reason for my comment about Charlie Beard. He would have been proud. Anyway, let's get started. Since Mary's not here yet, we'll move on to the next thing on our docket here, the PDF bylaws, etc. Summer Ramsey and Grant Phillips.
So I didn't do a whole lot of research on this, except that I know we can take PDFs and password protect them. But currently the covenants are on our website and are searchable. So I don't know, has that been a problem? As far as people, everything's recorded for the covenants, not necessarily the bylaws. Yes, they are. Bylaws are recorded. So if anybody, the reason why people are hesitant, or I've been told hesitant, to not have a searchable PDF document on our website is because they can be changed. Right now, it's like me handing you the sheet and saying, find something.
All right, so is everything that is a file, covenants, bylaws, those are recorded, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so if someone changes those, they would be different than recording them.
right, that's correct.
And if something was changed and we are aware that it has been changed, then that's up to us to figure out. So if somebody says to us, I went to the site and this is what it says for the covenants, and then someone in our office looks that up and says, no, it doesn't say that, well, that's fine. So I don't see that as an issue unless somebody else does.
It's just very nice to be able to go in there and, I mean, search a keyword. Sure. With the lake rules this weekend, I was looking. I just went and pulled up the lake rules while I was in the middle of the lake and typed in the keyword and searched it, and it brought up the rule. So you could do that with bylaws as well.
Okay.
If you wanted to know fees, just type in fees and then.
Tells you every time that the word fee is written, so if it's at the top table of contents or if it's at the bottom telling you what they are, it lets you know. I mean,
It'll take you to each.
it's almost like Google searching on the page.
Yeah.
Best way to explain it.
It's like a word search.
Word search on Word or any other document. And as long as we have the original files and the correct files, if somebody comes in, says it's any different, they've obviously changed it. And really, I mean, if anybody had the time, wanted to take the time to do it, anybody can change anything.
I retyped all 33 pages just for my own benefit, and I could have changed it. I mean, I couldn't. But I could have, I could have said, so-and-so is the president of Heritage Lake forever and ever, and I didn't, obviously.
You didn't make yourself the president for every meeting? Oh,
I
okay.
did not.
You would not
I
do that
would
to yourself, would
not.
you?
The Ramseys have their own parking spots for you.
But I'm
Yeah,
saying,
there you go.
like, if anybody wanted to change something, there are a million different ways to do it.
Okay, so
We can slow them down.
Yes.
so, forgive me for this question, but
Hmm.
what is our end result here? Are we gonna just, are we looking for this to be applicable at our meetings so that we can, at any time, pull up something and reference it, correct?
Yes.
And we could do that as officers of the board.
And we can easily do it as out in public. If someone asked us, we can just say, go to the website, download it and search it. Instead of, hey, let me read all the information or
So it'd
stuff
be-
like that.
It would be public access, I mean, anybody would be able to search that website for that information.
Well,
yeah.
it's our documents on the website. They download it. It'd be a standard PDF, and then you can search on
Open
any
it and
platform.
search.
But they wouldn't be able to upload it
No,
anywhere.
No.
we're
So,
not.
Yeah, we'd be fine.
I mean, right now, as it stands, it'd be like, you ask me a question, I say, here you go, find it in this. Because there's no, it's just a
No, it's
scanned
search.
copy.
Yeah.
It's a picture.
It's a picture of the document. It's not a Word document essentially.
Yes.
You could protect any PDF file you create so that people can view it all day long, but not be able to change it. That can be done. It doesn't cost.
But it's also not like they're going to be able to upload it back to the website or anything either.
They could never do that unless you give them that.
Right. And
So
no one has that access.
If they were smart enough to get in there and change something, it's just for their purposes.
Right, it would just be on their copy that they have,
Right.
their local copy, it would not be what is on the website.
Okay.
If they could do that, even though he'll be able to, we can protect it so that you can't change it for 99% of people.
Okay, so what does that cost?
$100 one time.
Well, I mean,
Is that
if
a
everything-
year
You'll be active
for a year?
now as well as permanent license.
No permanent license? Okay.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with that.
So that would be for any future documents if we created anything or, changed it and.
Or anytime we wanted to.
So as a
publicize anything,
HLPOA,
send out a document.
we're gonna pay $100 one time, any documents we create that are PDFs, excuse me?
And don't quote me, don't spend your money until you check the price, but it's cheap.
Okay,
Cheap insurance.
And I
Okay.
think that's just good for the community as well, they can search things.
so there's any necessary, is it necessary to go any further with this or just move forward?
As long as you have access to upload things online, as long as she's good with that. As long as we can
I
get,
think through the office, we can handle this whole thing.
yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Should we just announce at the board meeting to the public that's what
Like,
we're doing?
Yeah, do we
Like,
need
hey,
to vote on
everybody,
it or
just so
anything?
you know, we are uploaded all the bylaws.
I think it looks like an operations decision to me. It doesn't look like
Okay.
a board decision. I mean, it makes sense for the office to do something like this to protect the files that they are paid to protect. Board of directors, I'm not sure that I see it as a.
It's just an administrative function.
Correct.
I just meant it.
All right, yeah, we can go ahead and, put that under,
Yeah.
new business A, I guess, as an announcement, okay?
That's some of you, what do you purchase this? Zombicide?
I think Rick's looking it up right now.
I'm trying to find it too.
Yeah, actually, I guess I'm too old to remember. When I bought mine, it was a lifetime license. They're now selling Acrobat Pro for $15. It's no longer a one-time license.
You can
But
do
once
it.
you create the form, it's protected for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can buy it one time a month.
So you could buy it monthly and through all your forms and stop buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Adobe, so yeah.
Good, all right.
And I would get it off the Adobe website because
So Deborah's gonna take care of that. We'll make an announcement under new business A at the board meeting. Any other questions or anything to deal with this? All right, let's go back to number 1, emergency texting. Mary Petruzzo, and Rick Miller. Sorry about that, Mary. I've known Mary for a long time. That's the first time I ever mispronounced
Is it okay if I just sit here?
it. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm part of the Lake Committee, and the last meeting that we had, this text messaging system was brought up, and so the Lake Committee had asked that I come to this meeting and kind of present it to you guys to see if you're interested for us to research it any further. Okay, so it's right now it's just an idea, but it's really about, because in this digital age, everyone's got a cell phone, everyone's glued to their cell phone, and it's really just about having an emergency text messaging system for our community only, and it's only for emergencies. It's not meant to be for Houston Ski starts tomorrow, Easter egg hunt starts at 10. It's just for emergencies. So some examples for that would be like any kind of lake closures, high water alerts, Clubhouse Cove would be idle speed only, like during the feast and speed for certain hours. I thought it'd be a good idea to incorporate kind of amber or solar alerts for our community as well. If any of our roads are closed because of like for paving or doing repairs, basically got closing dates and opening dates for the marina. Like recently we closed the marina for a little bit for restriping. That could have been a message that went out. And just any type of information the community needs to know immediately. And the reason why I brought this up is just because a lot of people don't check their Facebook or email as quickly as they do their phone. So I did a little bit of research, and they said that the average open rates for emails are 15 to 22%, and it's most likely to go into your spam. I don't think I put it in here, but they said it takes them an hour and a half to open up their email. If they were on their phone and they got the alert, it's a 98% that they'll read it right then and there and get it within 15 minutes of it being sent. And also because if you're on the water and if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't check your email. That's why I thought the text messaging would be the best. Rick has done a lot of research on the various types of text messaging programs. He's created kind of like a dummy sign up. So he did test it. It's an opt-in only. So if you want to get emergency text messages, you need to go to the site that he created and sign up for it. That way it's not considered spam. Because you opted in.
Right.
Okay. We anticipate 3 to 5 text messages, maybe a month. It's hard to know, but it might be May through October or just our voting season. I can't imagine what kind of text we would have to send out during the winter. Snow alerts.
Ice on the hill.
Restaurants out of burger.
Regards to who would send out these texts, you can send it out from your phone. So I thought that POA can assign and authorize up to 5 different people. That way it's not falling on one person's shoulders at all times to send out these alerts. The cost, we assume that there's more than one cell phone user per household out here. So we're looking at maybe 3,000 people would sign up eventually, at most. So if we did 60 texts a year, we're looking at a maximum of 8,000. We anticipate closer to 4,500. And funding, we don't know yet, because they wanted me to
these estimates for volume of text and document cost, these are very, very conservative. I mean, 3,000 people, you may not get 3,000 people until a year or two later, who knows? But like everything else, when people start to sign up for an optional service, it will trickle in eventually, and then it'll build over time as much as you promote it. So if you expect 3,000 people from day one, problem. But still, that's, you need to know what your exposure is, and that's why we use these numbers.
Can I pose a question? The first would be, I do want to clarify that this is a messaging system to where if someone were to say reply to the message, it's not going to go out to everybody, correct?
Correct.
Right.
And then would it be a re-sign up each year? That way we don't have a whole bunch of old numbers that people just never remove?
Actually, I recommend that, yes.
Okay. As what I, thank you.
Now, so our charge on this thing is rated according to how many people sign up. Each time someone signs up, we are charged X number of dollars.
Actually, depending on the service we buy, the different services have different per message costs. The worst case scenario is a 4 cents per message. So let's say you have 1,000 people who opted in. Then if you send out a message to 1,000 people, that would cost you, including a monthly fee that comes with the service, it would cost you something like $120.
What's the monthly fee, you know?
$39 a month.
Okay.
Now, there is another service that is cheaper on the per minute cost or the per message cost that has a $5 monthly fee. Not sure I would buy that if it was my money, but there is a cheaper solution.
Okay. Who does the administration?
Well, that would be up to you, because even if the other people would sponsor the cost for you, the someone needs to decide what constitutes an immediate communication. Well, our feeling is that is best decided by someone in the POA. But it shouldn't fall on just Ken shoulders, for example. That's why we suggest, up to 5 people that can do it, so that one of those 5 sends the message to you.
So, just so we understand, let's say we've got these 5 people right here on the panel, and it's been raining for 5 days, and we want to close the lake. So, somebody is in charge of saying to the 5 people who can send out this particular message, and then that person has, what, a code or something that they hit to send out a message to all the people that have signed up, correct?
Yeah, they log onto a website and send a message from there.
Okay.
And it's a third-party website. It's not mine, it's not yours, it's third-party.
Okay.
But they can do it from a phone. They have to do
Yes.
it from a.
Any internet browser. So it can be done
On
mobile.
So it can be done mobily, without internet.
Just
with it. Yes.
Just for information, just these examples are good examples, and I was going through and just kind of adding up what I thought we would go through in a year's time. Just these examples here is about 30, I guess. So if there's any-
Not a month, is that right?
Correct.
For the year.
Oh, for the year, okay. Yeah.
So if you don't send out any messages, you still have to pay the administrative fee.
There is the monthly fee, whether you use it or not.
So you said that's in the order of $40.
Well, one service that I found that I would recommend is $39, and another one is $5.
What's the big difference in the 5? I mean, it's
The
8
quality-
times more expensive, so
The
I mean,
quality
what's
of the product.
security.
I mean, if I took the time to show you the 2 platforms, you could see what I already know. The $39 one is a quality product that's made by a Canadian company. The $5 one is workable, but not the quality product, and
is there a simple way to explain, you know, what is the difference between a quality product in this case and a so-so product? I mean, I know that in TVs and.
Three things: features, options, ease of use.
Okay.
I really like this. I just personally, I was not on the water last year when it went yellow, but I can see myself doing a couple laps before I see the yellow flag and notice what's going on because I'm scaring my kids or whatever. So knowing immediately would be something that I would use.
Yeah, I think you also have to think about, I mean, that's, in theory, that's great, but as we all know, you could put up 50 signs right in front of everybody and nobody reads it. So, you know, this is a matter of signing up for it. So we'll always have somebody out there who didn't sign up for it.
That's my concern with having to re-up for it every single year. I mean, you know, because like if I signed up now and I thought I was on the list,
Oh, I see.
And
So we have to sign up every year.
and then the date turns over like April 1st or something like that, and I forget and I don't remember.
Well, you don't
And I
have
missed the first 9 text messages about the lake being closed.
Well,
or
there's,
whatever.
you
You
have
don't-
to administer the opt-in service, okay?
Right.
So if we were gonna offer this, you could send out the opt-in communication to everybody by POA email, by Facebook news groups, by HLCS blasts, wherever you can communicate. This service is available that you must opt in. Here's how. Okay. Then, as you get towards the next year, before you lose all your people, 3 months from now, you say, okay, in December, let's say, we're going to purge all these numbers, and you must opt in again. And so you can manage it with effective communication.
And you can send it out to everyone on that list that says, hey, go re-sign up if you want to continue receiving text messages after today. Otherwise, the alternative is we're paying 5 cents a message.
For dead numbers. No, I get that. Or
I
people
mean,
that don't live here or
yeah.
they sold their house. I totally understand that.
So
But I
what,
think there's a way to manage the re-up to make it more usable.
so what you're saying is once everybody signs up, we as administrators have their numbers. So we can communicate with them for a re-up? Or do we have to communicate by emails and everything else the next year?
Well, you may choose to do all of those things, but because those phone numbers are in this text messaging system, then when it comes time to re-up, you can have that system send one blast to everybody that says, hey, your phone number is going to be removed unless you opt in again.
Could you confirm, you know, like one text message out that says it is time to opt in, and you hit in or out, and then it's just passing those through.
Yeah, something like that, absolutely.
So,
Kind of like a stop to.
yeah,
Yeah.
confirm or
So-
stop,
So
yeah.
it's two-way?
So it's
It can
easy.
go two-way?
The only, you can restrict it so that it is only one way, but anytime, anyone, without us administering it, they can reply with the word stop. And that will stop the text messages to that.
Can they also reply a Y and then we get a list of all the Ys?
You can do something like that.
Okay, thank you.
That would be a lot easier.
I love that.
So the bottom line though is you do want to keep from wasting money. It's going to add up quick.
Well, take this to new business B, board meeting. Announce it to the folks, and can you guys give us at least a demonstration you gave us tonight at the board meeting? Or, I mean, you're gonna be at the board meeting anyway, right, Rick? If you can't, that's fine, I don't,
I think again, like with Jim and Devin on it. Yeah.
okay,
I can demonstrate.
okay. Who will be there at the board meeting?
I certainly plan to be,
Okay,
unless I get hit by a truck.
and they cancel the board meeting if that happens, Rick.
Nothing but a
We're not
Greyhound.
allowed to get hit by a truck.
Cancel it, we'll just move it to Lake
Yeah, maybe.
To the weight.
I'll be
Can we
there
text
in
his,
spirit.
can we text his phone here at Ranger Department?
All right, next on the agenda is the executed restaurant lease. I'm sure you all received that in your emails. I do want to thank everybody that sent in questions and remarks during the time that we were negotiating emails. I hope you received correspondence. Tom, you received some, right? And anybody else that had questions or statements to give myself or the attorney, they were all looked at, they were all gone over. Some of them were discussed between both attorneys and myself and the CFO of Psalms. And if anybody has any particular questions on any points of the lease, I'd be glad to go over those with anybody so you understand how we negotiated and how we discussed those. At the very end, I will say this, at the very end, it was a week's worth of back and forth, a week's worth of small issues, and some of those had to do with insurance and liability. And simply put, so that all of us as laymen can understand on the board, if you don't understand totally insurance, which I know a lot more now than I did before I started, insurance coverage is for disasters. Everybody knows that. So if our building burns down totally to the ground, we have to have enough money in our insurance program to build that up. Not necessarily this year, not necessarily next year, maybe 3 years from now, maybe 5 years from now. So you have to have insurance that will cover those projected costs in the future, escalated costs. So that's one issue. The second issue is who carries that insurance? It's our building. We should carry that insurance. At some point, there was a question whether our restaurateur or our leasee should match that insurance. So that's good in theory, but once the building burns down, they're only going to pay for what you need. They're not going to give you cash for the other guy's coverage. So it doesn't really matter. We have to be covered. So if the leasee is covered also, it's a waste of money on our part and on their part, because we would have to share in that particular purchase. And that's a very quick explanation of some of the dealings we had between attorneys.
Are you saying like double coverage, like he would have a policy and we would have
Correct.
a policy versus
Correct.
us splitting the cost of the policy?
Correct. We always have to have coverage. Right. The only potential possibility that would be more advantageous to us as landlords is if somebody splits that cost for us. That did not happen. But they are totally covered for the things they own. We are totally covered for the things we own. If they cannot come back to us for wages and salaries and time off if something happens, we cannot go back to them for something that we had covered. Okay, so it's a mutual liability. I didn't think I was going to spend that much time on that. there's any other questions on any of the points, it's been an interesting time. So I'd be glad to discuss them with you. I think that's it on that. That can be new business C as an announcement for the board meeting. And that lease is in the office and available for any of you to go through if you need to.
Can anybody view this? Like, is it a document that some person random off the street?
It's like anything else that someone in the membership wants to get, they kind of have to come to the office, make a formal request, and then pay any cost that is necessary to supply that to you.
That's fine.
I don't see any.
I don't see why anybody would, I'm just
Yes.
saying, just asking for the world.
I don't. To be honest with you, I would have to check with the attorney on that question. I don't know what, I will check though. It's a good question for him. Next on the agenda, HL, the emergency planning training. I have the notes from my meeting with Darcy and John, who originally set up that situation there. And what I would suggest right now, if nobody has any, unless anybody has any other ideas, I think at this point we ought to direct this, and I can share my notes with Summer and Deborah, and maybe the next meeting for your long-term planning. This can be discussed. Those notes can be discussed. It's pretty simple. The telephone systems and the what room we're going to use and how it's going to go once an emergency happens. How we're going to get it out to the public. My suggestion at this point in talking to these folks is that long-term planning handle the whole thing as an umbrella item. And then when an emergency happens, there is a committee chairman who will designate the contacts to possibly the neighborhood watch, because they have someone in each community. So unless you guys have anything else, I think I can give you those notes, and you guys can handle that at that committee.
I would suggest maybe when you start getting serious about it, to invite
Darcy and John.
and Chris and John Deegan, just to kind of get up to speed on what they have done. They could either A, stay on, or just educate.
When and if the
They might be able to, I might suggest that if you invite them to the meeting, maybe they could give you a preamp in an outline form. Sometimes as they go through the duplication of everything that's happened up to this point, it really gets worn out. If they give you an outline, I think you can stay to the point, it won't be so hard for everybody to follow. They're simple.
They spend a lot of time. We've got a binder that's very descriptive. I think it's in the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be in the bottom of that list.
So you guys okay with that? All right, so we're gonna do that.
I was gonna say, when and if we get the text message system up, should they be a part of that in some way? Maybe one of the people that would have access to send out, or in direct contact with somebody who would have access.
If we end up going to that system, it's a completely applicable situation.
Yeah.
It's probably the most applicable situation if there's a disaster. Sure. Good point. So this is gonna be, again, an announcement for new business D. And hopefully, after making these announcements, we'll have other input if need be. Okay, next, anybody else have anything else concerning this? Next thing is live streaming issues. Summer Ramsey.
We are up and going.
Currently.
So this is, on film,
This is live currently to YouTube.
really?
Yeah.
How do we do
Through
that?
this one.
How do we do that?
Because a laptop is not considered a mobile device. It can stream, but the tablet is considered a mobile device, so it can't stream because of the restrictions YouTube put that you have to have 1,000 subscribers. I think that's just so that everybody with a camera can't go live.
So it'll work with a laptop with a camera.
Yeah.
The only issue is it will not work with that camera, because that camera does not work with laptops. It's a software.
So for the future, do we need a different setup?
It's just hard because then we go back to that camera only works with an iPad. And to use the iPad, you either have to have 1,000 users, or you have to go through a multi-step process that is pretty complicated.
Is there a different camera option?
Yes. Or we get a new camera.
Is
And
there,
that one was nice and expensive, so it's just.
is there a new camera that doesn't need a laptop, or is it still just going to need a laptop? Do you know?
It would need a laptop unless we went through those directions that I sent you.
Okay.
Camera would just be plugged into the laptop?
The software is not currently compatible, and it
It's
should
only
be
made
in the
for iOS.
Yeah, it should be in the future. They're working on it. It's just not there yet.
Or we could get a lap, or we could spend money getting an Apple laptop, right? And that would work.
I don't know,
I don't think so.
because I think iOS on tablet is different than
It
a
would be cheaper
Mac.
to get a new camera.
It would be cheaper to get
I
a
see
film
if
crew,
Endeavor would
It would be
exchange
cheaper to
us
get what?
some out of
a
the
film
camera.
crew than a MacBook.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you're sitting with one.
I got it to work at my house with the iPad and the camera. There was some bad feedback, and I don't know if that's just proximity between the two devices. That as I was in my house, I tried to do it from different rooms, and there's still some pretty bad feedback. Or if it's a setting issue that I just am not aware of. in
So the people at home right now are going on YouTube just like they did before?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're viewing off of this machine, and in a second I'll bring you up and show you what they're looking at.
Okay, and
Is that what they're looking at?
No, that's what Rick.
That's
said.
Rick is recording
still
also for hit just in case we didn't get this going.
Yeah.
But essentially they're seeing that little tiny picture, which I can make bigger at the moment. Go bigger.
okay, so, all right, so that's what they're seeing right now?
There you go.
Smile.
There's Ken.
Right?
Maybe. Yeah. If it's getting bigger, I can't tell.
No,
It's bigger.
It's
It is bigger?
Only
Okay.
Screen size.
there's 3 people and half the page down.
Yeah, so is there any way it can be,
It's frozen.
what do you call it, pen,
Everyone,
yeah,
if we get a different camera and stuff. This is just what we
We
currently
just put
got.
it on the most important people. The rest of us are fine.
There you go, there.
And the sound quality is better than it was last week?
I have no idea, but nobody's complaining yet, so.
Okay.
And we got at least 5 people watching.
Tell us if the sound quality is terrible. People on the tube of you.
I'm actually running this, I'm controlling this computer with this computer so that it's not facing me, because
Right.
apparently people complained when it was just facing me, so.
so if this is your laptop,
Yes,
so we can't use Ken's laptop,
we could potentially use Ken's laptop.
okay? And then we can purchase another camera that will plug into his laptop?
Mhm.
I guess what I'm after is a permanent solution here, something that's gonna last for 5 years instead of just 5 months.
Yeah. Ken may need a new laptop in general though, so. Because I know you were talking about how slow yours was and things like that. But we can work on. I can figure out what can be a more permanent solution.
All right, let's do that.
For you.
Let's do that. And in the meantime, we'll run with, we're gonna figure this out. A more permanent solution. And maybe come up with some numbers.
Sounds good. I just pulled it up
It sounds good. I'll reach out to Deborah.
Okay.
And see if we can work out something else by taking that camera back.
It was a nice camera, I know.
They sort of donated it,
No,
they sold it to us.
that's right. And then they sold it.
Okay. I remember there was like a whole Endeavor thing at the beginning.
Test drive.
Okay,
Is that new or old?
is there any other questions on, we're gonna move forward on getting some pricing and permanent solutions for looking at our meetings and not just seeing 3 people?
3.5. Yeah.
3.5, well, 3 1/4, it's AJ.
Can you see this on the camera? I just wonder.
No, but I do click the thing that says "Made not for kids," so.
You are very bright, I'll say that.
I was gonna say, can you see all the dirt on my shirt?
And
A little washed
will
out.
that be new business or old?
Old business. This is like week 3 or 4 we're talking about it or something.
Old A?
Well, definitely Rick's camper copy.
Oh, yeah. No,
His isn't live though currently,
So
so
he'll probably upload it though.
we can edit it.
This is the only thing we have on hold so far.
That's fine.
Okay,
I meant that with all the love of my heart.
no more questions on that topic. We'll go to parking lot modification, Mr. Reedy, who, by the way, thank you very much. I know this is not an easy job, especially if you pay attention to people's comments.
Oh,
But
believe
I
it or
think you're
not,
doing an excellent job.
I was thinking about this today. It's only been 2 weeks since we started up. And it seems like it's been
2 months.
2 months. So
There's a couple things that you tweaked.
you each copy
Monday,
the cost of the modification.
10th.
And obviously, since the very beginning, we've noticed people that have done very well in the parking lot. People that have not. So that's
And I
okay.
think that'll be a constant.
So all the stuff the last couple of weeks, seeing what's going on, perpetuated Paul, myself, and Ken getting together at the marina and giving another walk to see what we can do to tweak it. And this may not be the only tweak, but it's probably a step in the right direction. If you look at the map, the picture that I gave each one of you, and I'm going to start in the lower left-hand side. You'll see what they've done is we're going to move that line, which currently behind that line, little green line right there, they're going to black that out and re-white it.
So everybody see where we are?
Right here. So they're going to black out the white line and put a new white line in and get rid of there's lettering in there that says no parking. They'll black that out as well. What that's going to do is open up the exit route out a little more. So make it a little wider. So if you track along to the right where the golf cart parking is, right now, presently, we've got an arrow going in and one arrow going out. What they're going to do is take that out arrow and they're gonna bend it to the right, so it goes down the car lane. That's what that little green spot is. They're gonna make that a right-hand turn. And actually, prior to that, there is a sign that says Heritage Lake golf carts parking, right on the right next to the canopy there. And the only problem with it is it's about this frickin' high. Well, if you're sitting in a golf cart and you got a roof on it, odds are you're not gonna see it. So we also talked about, and typically they're required by code to have it a certain height. That's what autos has to do. And so it's a simple thing, taking the nuts off the sign off the post and just move it down. So it's lower. They can't do it because they're under a certain ruling that they can only have it so high. We can adjust them any way we want.
We can just take the sign off and cut a portion of that.
Yeah, you can cut the post off or you can just lower it down. And you don't even have to move it because I looked at it, it's just got a couple of bolts in there with nuts on the back. You can literally move that sign down. So that's kind of better view when they're sitting in a golf cart.
I seen something over the weekend that what do you think about having in the grass back towards the playground with another golf cart sign that'll have an arrow pointing to the left?
Probably makes sense.
There was a golf cart that stopped right on the arrow sign and parked right there. So we kind of blocked that entrance. So, but I just thought if they're pulling up that way, they could at least go towards the sign that will.
Well, I'll tell you what, that sign we have, that probably should have, an arrow.
Or we could rope, I'm not trying to make it work, but you could rope off in front of the playground, so you kind of like follow the little yellow brick road to go back there with like like I said, I worked in parking garages for a long time. You gotta stupid proof it. You gotta really say this is, cause I drove my side-by-side down there on Saturday, and I did the same thing. I pulled in and I went, I think I'm supposed to go down there by the restaurant, or by the bathrooms, but there's nothing in the grass that I saw.
So we just need a sign back there at least saying golf parking.
And obviously you can't stripe the grass because you're gonna cut it and it's gonna go away, so that's not gonna work, so.
I think if we had a sign with a left arrow pointing that way, and then to your point, down there towards where they park, we could set some kind of post and have some of that yellow plastic chain just kind of like this.
I still think you're gonna need a sign at that area saying golf cart parking. The sign that's coming in it says golf cart parking, but they have to see something that where they're going.
So you're saying have two more signs?
Well, at least one more.
Yeah.
You got one saying golf cart parking, and you got an arrow on the street saying this way, and then one coming out. But you're coming in. Obviously, the guy goes, okay, this is where I parked my cart, right here, golf cart parking. But if you see another sign over here with a roped area, once they figure it out, it's not going to be a problem. So right now, when you pull in with your boat and trailer, you're done. Because it says boat and trailer this way, and then you've got to figure it out. And that's why we're doing a lot of this stuff. Because once you get in, you can't figure out where you go after that. Same thing with golf carts. You're pulling in, you need to be able to see some area that you're going to. If you're in a golf cart.
I would say have two. One at the end with the left arrow, and then one down at the other end which says just say no parking. And I could chain it off somehow to kind of make it look like this is where I'm supposed to park.
Yeah, it could just be like a straight line of like that chain stuff.
Do we want them to make those signs or outsource that?
That's what I would do. That way they're gonna match everything they've done.
They could probably get it.
But that's not part of.
No,
There's no sign.
it wouldn't be part of that. It's gonna be additional to that. So anyhow, they come out, there'll be a right-hand turn out of the golf cart parking, directing them to go down the car lane.
Yeah.
We've already had a boat and trailer go down the car lane.
I saw two there.
I've seen 4 or 5.
Okay. I only knew 1 or 2.
They probably think they need to pull down there to do their boat registration.
They did. Yeah.
This is what we did last year, let's say.
But there'll be white arrow,
Next year,
another
clear.
white arrow on the pavement, and then at the very end, there'll be a left-hand turn arrow. I'm telling them I want actually this. I want them to do that. So it's kind of a semi-circle.
Yeah.
around.
Like a U-turn.
Okay.
Then there'll be 2 arrows coming off the boat ramp directing them to go straight. And you'll see DNE where the solid white line presently is, which is do
It'll
not.
actually be spelled out though, right?
Pardon me? They'll
It'll
spell it
actually
out.
Spell it out.
No entry or do not enter.
I just wanted to make sure they're not just gonna put D and E on.
No, because no. I'd have to make up a different word for that. So then you can continue around to where the one-way parking is for boat registration. And you notice there are the first 5 positions are highlighted in kind of a pink color. Well, they will be yellow. And they will be labeled as registration parking to register the boats. Temporary parking. Yes.
Is all of this staying temporary, or are we?
No.
Because I saw, I mean,
The
I
others
saw what
now-
everybody else saw this weekend if they went over there. Every single one of those slots was full of boats with empty trailers.
Now
parked
it'll
for
be-
the whole day.
There'll be, you'll see here, there's a green line going right here, right through the middle of it. They're gonna put another dash line in there so you can either have a trailer parking there or a car in front and a car in the back for additional car parking.
But that's temporary parking, or that's gonna be live.
No, that'll be a 5.
Temporary, just the first 5 spots. It'll be one for registration.
What are we gonna do? Where are the T's for this?
Where the what?
I mean, we just watch people parking temporary parking all weekend.
Well, if it's marked and it's obvious, the key is somebody's gonna say, hey, could you move your trailer over to trailer parking, or could you possibly go someplace else? And, you know, if the guy gets out of his car and gets shitty, excuse me, then we say, well, you know, we'd like you to park someplace else, and then we don't do anything more. We're not gonna arrest him,
I'm not saying we should.
but hopefully because of the new markings, it's gonna be more obvious what to do, and we're still gonna have problems.
Can we put a sign up that says, your own risk?
A 15-minute loading
15
zone.
minute.
I'm just saying like mark it like a loading zone, like a 15-minute loading zone or something like that. To say like, hey, because like if Steve goes out there and says, hey, this is temporary parking, you can't move. Oh yeah, we'll just be back in an hour. Well, what's Steve gonna do? I'm just saying because I use it at the marina.
Well, we can do 15-minute registration zone.
Yeah, it's gonna be labeled as registration.
What is it gonna say?
It will say.
Is it gonna be actually painted like home around or
Right.
What's it gonna say?
registration parking?
Registration parking only.
I like it.
And it will be in yellow.
I was just saying in the actual space. This is just a brainstorming here. Paint inside each of the spaces and put 15 MIN, 15 MIN, 15 MIN, 15 MIN, like in the actual slot.
Or
Like-
does making them a different color help?
Not really.
No. Okay. I didn't know if people like.
I was just saying like,
Well, Otto says it will make a difference.
I'm just saying like if you did the,
Their opinion, it will make a difference to do it in yellow because it will stand out. And it wouldn't be a big deal to put right there in that
Or
lettering,
something like this.
registration parking only 15 minutes.
I'm just saying
That's all.
like something like this in the space.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about in each space. But what they'll all be labeled as temporary
Like a sign?
registration parking. No, on the pavement. If you put a sign in, someone's gonna hit it.
Yeah, we're going over it.
You're gonna nail it,
That area.
especially with trailers.
What'd you say, Rick?
You gotta be able to drive through.
Somebody did suggest
Oh,
putting
what-
cones out, so if they hit them, it's not a big deal. But I also don't want to
You
be
put cones out.
damaging people's trailers. And
even if they're negligent, I don't want to be responsible, not me specifically.
Irregardless, it takes a certain amount of policing to get started.
So right now,
And the other thing, there'll be an arrow now in these spots. Not coming the other way where the do not earner is going that way. It's going, they're gonna put arrows. Not every spot, but they're gonna put arrows. You know, like every third spot right down here.
Oh,
To tell me,
yeah, I like that.
hello, you go this way.
So the areas that the first 5 are temporary, after those first 5, people can park there all day if they got to.
now, in between those, is there gonna be parking curbs in between them, so they can't drive through?
Where?
Will there be parking curbs along this?
Just a line.
Just a line?
No,
So
no,
you
because you
park a
wanna,
trailer
it's
and
actually a
one car.
double spot. You can either park a trailer, a pickup and a trailer, or when there's no one there, 2 cars can park there. They can both get out. One can drive forward, one can
I'm
back
just
up.
thinking that, people's gonna continue doing the same thing.
Cause that'll close it off.
Oh, I see. Okay,
So if you put your boat in, you can actually park it. And then, or you park that,
it's basically, you can park over here, but please leave these alone.
the 5 spot. Correct.
Then the last thing is right up at the top here, you can't hardly read it going into the gravel. That's also gonna be in the yellow. And it's gonna say additional trailer and car parking before they go on the gravel, in yellow. Because you really can't see the yellow very well when you're in your vehicle, till you're right on top of it, so. And he recommended, like this past weekend, there were cars lined up all the way down here. And he recommended like keeping.
Where
for the
are you
dump
saying?
all along here, they were parked this way.
That's
So it was not just employees, it was also customers.
That's what some
Customers parking in there. And he recommended that he do, now it's not priced yet. So you go about 7 or 8 spots, we looked, you know, when you get to a certain point, there'd be like room for 7 spots for employee parking. And then he said, I would recommend you put a no parking sign down there, so people just don't, you know, because they see the employees park there, so they naturally come in, everybody started parking that way.
I mean, I know I'm trying to buy more signs, but have marina employee parking over there with like a little placard sign for 10 spaces or whatever, and then do your idea of no
What's your
parking.
signs cost you for you put? Okay.
I was just thinking, because then it would like section off their 10 or 12, or how many spaces they
Well,
need.
there's 2 issues there, isn't there? One issue is we want the employees to park someplace away from the building.
Right,
just
over
like
the
any other
gravel.
restaurant. And the second issue is if they're gonna park trailers there and more people park there, they can't have enough radius to get out
Make the turn.
before they hit the car or the trailer next to them.
Originally, it was supposed to be parallel parking all along there. So,
Well, we even looked at parallel parking and they won't help. So, not with the turning radius. So the ones on the end, closest to the blacktop,
yeah.
they don't have a problem. As you get further along,
Down by the lean-to?
then that starts to get tighter and tighter and tighter. So that means as you get tighter and tighter, they have to have the ability to swing out.
If we can get even plastic or metal signs, I can put vinyl on them. If you need a
I know where I got those ones that say, marina employee parking, that was the same lady that made the Lincoln Hills.
And he has no pricing in this for signs. Because I told him not to at this point. We've done our own, so.
Okay, other than the issue of signs, which we can get some prices and compare to what you might be able to do for us. How does everybody feel about this as far as moving forward think the most obvious thing, Steve, you can jump in here anytime, the most obvious thing we needed was at least verbiage and direction to help us. And this seems to be the next logical step.
Right. Do not enter doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore. We got them coming right down the center.
Someone
As
told
you
me-
know, I've had a lot of problems with,
Well,
the parking.
Yeah, I know. And it seems to me, and I think Ken would agree, that it's never gonna be perfect, but in order for it to be better than it is right now, we have to figure out a way to tell the people what to do once they, because right now they're entering and they're lost.
Yeah.
So I think with what John and Otto's has come up with is the next logical step. And then, you know, we try to move forward with the marina employees and Ken and our own signage maybe. I think you brought up a good point. I think the end of that gravel needs to be no parking so that we have that radius for those boat trailers. Yes?
Can you or should you do something about the right turn at the entrance? It's a really sharp turn. And making the turn and avoiding the first car in that first parking spot is tricky. And I found even on my motorcycle, just enough space to move. No one knows on a test course.
I think we could eliminate that first spot, actually.
Yeah, just a matter of whitening it out.
Yeah.
I mean, blacken it out. That end spot you're talking about.
Okay.
How soon can we get this done?
I don't know yet.
6 days.
Someone asked me to bring up the sign that's at the entrance, either moving it back so they can see it before they get to the stop, which direction.
We thought about that, but it's so narrow.
I know. Or doing a separate sign at the entrance, just so they know once they get up, it's late. That's a why. Yes, because they got up to it and then it was too late and they didn't know what to do. And I'm sure they'll get used to it. It's just.
Yeah, I think some of this stuff is because we've done it forever.
Yeah.
And now we're changing. And, if you stand there, if you stand there or sit there in your car and watch people come at you, it's almost like a deer in the headlights thing.
What I would suggest is once this is
It is tight in
completely,
that entryway, that
once
mouth
this
is
is
very
completely
tight.
painted, I would see if we can get someone to take a picture and,
Like a drone.
yes, a drone, and then we can put it on social media and say, with arrows and like with lines, and if you're going to songs, you do this. If you're going to park your boat, you do this. And this is like very clear cut. This is only for registration and highlight these different areas. So they're seeing it before they get there.
Are you doing that, Rick?
Actually, I've got two guys that do drone photography that will take photos on request.
No, but I mean, you and I discussed,
Yeah.
that's what she's talking about.
In fact, I was gonna draw it up and present it to you, but then somebody else beat me to it and posted it on Facebook. But when you get your new arrows and stuff, I can give you those drawings.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
Is there any merit to painting on the entryway, painting the word boat to the left and car to the right, like in front of the arrows? Like
I
on the
don't
ground?
like that idea. I think people are more likely to see that than they are to
If
see.
you say truck and trailer, it's way too long, nobody's gonna read it. But
Yeah.
you write boat with the left and car on the right.
We're not running a boat.
I mean, that's what we'll get on Facebook, but I mean, that's fine. The same three people that wanna say the same thing every time.
I think anything we do is gonna help. But it's just like he said, there's a big old in white, do not enter.
Yeah.
And what do
I
they
do
do?
like the
That
boat.
little tiny
I like
sign
boat
in
and
there,
car.
until you're right on top of it, you can't read it.
Yeah.
Also,
No, I'm not talking about the sign.
I'm just saying the sign that's on that post where it's like,
Yeah.
Psalms and marina parking, like you have way too much on there. Like it literally should, if it was me, I would have the sign, it would say boat and car with one arrow, just like you're getting off the highway.
Or get a stop sign.
they stop and look at that sign
Oh.
and still do backwards.
I watched, I
know
watched-
it's the first week, I get it,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody should know it the first week, I'm just saying, usually simple. I mean, we put up signs in garages, sometimes it was a green arrow and a red X, and
The
it
one
would
that
light
I-
up depending
the
on
one
what
that
they
I
were supposed to
seen
do.
go to the right, a boat. I watched him pull up and he was already in the right lane. He stopped, he read it. He started to go left because he knew that he was supposed to go left, but it was an inconvenience, so then he just changed and went right through the car. So he did stop and read it. He just, it was either, I don't know what, if it was too late, if he was already in the right lane and he didn't want to go left, but he started to go left, but then he changed his position and went right and chose to go left.
Okay, at this point, since we've had a week and a half anyway, are half of the people following our directions? Steve, half?
At least half.
All right, okay, so at least half of the people are following our directions. Let's take into consideration the word boat and the word car on those lanes. I don't know if that's gonna help or not, but we can take that in consideration and see what he says about, is that another $25 or $50?
Yeah, it's not gonna be much.
Okay, so let's do that, and we'll look at all these other suggestions and talk about them. While we're there, and we'll run cars. We've been doing that on our, physically running cars with trailers and cars without trailers.
I took my van through the Marina Park, I had no problem.
I talked to two different parties at the restaurant who do not live here, had never been here. Came here because they're familiar with songs and they saw on the song's Facebook page it was opening. And I asked them, feedback this, feedback that. And one of the guys, he said it was the second night he had come. And I said, what do you think about the parking lot? He said, well, what about it? I said, does it seem confusing to you? And he goes, no, the signs were pretty clear. So
That tells me people want to change.
Well, yeah.
So
We know that, we already know that.
And we know that, we already knew that, but
Yeah.
it does reiterate the fact that I feel like we're on the right track for the residents
Perfect.
for some reprogramming.
The more they use it, and I've seen it, because a lot of people that have the blue stickers now, and I've seen what happens, they're starting to use the same way.
The right.
The right way.
I say we tweak it and let it ride out because I think people will eventually get used to it.
Yeah, I say we tweak it with the exception of going in and then put boat and car on the pavement. I don't know if it's gonna make much difference, but it's not.
I'm just thinking if it's
It's not
further
gonna
up
cost
the
that
chute,
much.
if it's further up the chute, so you know what I mean, if they're hugging the right side with the boat and then he does that, like, oh wait, boat, I'm supposed to go this way.
And that sign is movable. You may not think it is, but it is. You just need a hand truck, and you can move it back. So.
All right, does anybody else have anything under parking lot? We'll put
Now we do have semis that come in quite often now.
Right, and I think, the semis are coming in early.
Yeah.
And that's not always gonna be the case. I can tell you that from the business, that eventually there's gonna be a problem, and they're not gonna come here until, Saturday morning at about 11 o'clock, and we're gonna have to deal with it, that's all there is to it. And I think they're just gonna have to fend for themselves, and we're gonna have to help them, that's all.
There's enough room that they can back in to be out of the way.
Right. On the parking lot modification, we'll put this as old business B, please. There'll be a discussion. John, if you don't mind, and maybe in the meantime, you can find out when they can come back and get this stuff taken care of.
Okay.
And I think if there needs to be, I think this could fall under, with the additional price, it could fall under operations for Ken to make the decision. And if the board feels like we can move ahead with the modifications, Ken can find a place for us to get $600, $700 out of our budget to improve this. And once we do these modifications, then let's just all of us be polite and courteous, and if somebody gets nasty, let it go. Just let it go. It'll cool down, and we'll move on, and things will gradually get better. And then we'll take notes, and maybe towards the end of the summer, we'll regroup, get some new notes down, and decide what we're gonna do at the beginning of the season next year.
On a nice note, on the way here, I drove through there. And everybody was parked the right way in the temporary spots. They weren't parked the wrong way, so.
Steve?
If we cannot get this done by this coming weekend, can we get some way to block off 5 of those?
Yeah, we can use cones.
Because I think it's gonna be if the weather's nice.
It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
It's
75
gonna
and
be,
clear.
it's gonna be a mess. I seen Sunday was a mess, and it's probably gonna be a worse mess this week.
What do you think? Figure it out. Just have to figure something out.
Yeah, 'cause I can say please as much as I wanna say it, and it doesn't do any good, so.
Yeah, I understand. All right, anything else before we,
This isn't on the agenda, we've already voted on it, but do we have an update on the,
Same as last one I gave, if it came in by the 24th, they'd be out here before, which would be today. I haven't heard from them, so he said if that didn't happen, then he put it in right after.
on the parking lot, it's not likely we're gonna have anything done before next weekend.
I doubt it.
Okay.
But I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay.
If I can get it done.
If I get an estimate on like restaurant employee signs, I do what you said. But
Is there 7 parking spots they can park in there?
Where were you gonna put those?
the gravel lot?
In the gravel lot?
Uh-huh.
And may I suggest they just say employee parking only? That way it's a little more versatile.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion.
Oh,
I think there was only 7 spots.
oh, we can count them all. I'll look at it. There's
About
probably.
7 spots. Is all you can get before you get up
And
to
you
where
can also
those.
look for, when you get the price of signs, we'll figure out what we're gonna do on the docking area. The subject came up, at least somebody texted me or phoned me or something about dock parking. As it stands right now, dock parking is temporary parking, it's for unloading and loading people. So if you wanna pull your boat in there and unload everybody, to go to the restaurant, you have to find another parking spot if you're gonna go into the restaurant until 8 o'clock tonight. So, I guess my new dinner time is 8 o'clock. Just a joke.
This is the only thing I see about that. Let's say it slows down, nobody's unloading the boat, somebody pulls up and they want to park and go to the restaurant. We tell them, no, this is just for temporary. We tell them, they're in a boat here and I can't park.
Okay?
Correct.
I mean, it's the same reason why it says gas parking only.
That's why you
park in
can't-
front of the gas pump even if no one's getting gas.
That's why you can't park in a fire
at the
lane
gas
even
pump.
though there's no fire. I mean,
There's nothing there right now.
Don't they say gas parking only? There's signs right under the gas pump side, I thought. There's little white signs.
No.
There is.
No. Are we just talking about the gas pumps?
I'm just saying that we can market whatever we want. If we're the gas pump, you're not allowed to park in front of the gas pump to load and unload your boat.
Right.
True.
It's for gas park, it's for buying gas.
I'm
That's
not
where you buy
talking about
gas.
that side, I'm talking about the other
What
side.
I'm saying is, we go to the other side, and I know we're gonna have to put up signs that we're blue in the face, maybe we just put loading and unloading only. Like little placards over there along the dock that say loading and unloading zones only, or whatever verbiage we wanna use, do the same thing.
And does that also count, since the lake rule book says all POA properties, so then we're also talking about clubhouse, we're talking about at the marina, the other side of the beach, parking there? I mean, is that what we're talking about, is we're gonna, because really the loading and unloading has never been enforced. You could park at the loading and unloading and go into the marina and get a candy or get an ice cream and chit chat with your pals, or go to the bathroom, that's not considered loading and unloading.
What is the I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
We
What's
could
the
put a
lake rule
timeline
say?
on it, I guess.
Section K, it says all.
Is that what Jim told us? In that
I did not
email?
get that email. I heard about it.
But somebody's gonna say we didn't have a restaurant at that time.
Right, it says.
Or you could put a 15-minute loading zone on it, or
Section
10-minute
K,
loading zone on it.
all
Eat
POA.
quick loads.
Section N.
I'm just saying, like, you need to go to the
docking, parking, and
bathroom.
storage.
I think going in to like go to the bathroom or buy a soda at the marina and then leaving in 5 or 10 minutes is a very different thing than sitting there, dock, wait for an hour for your reservation to come through, and then go in and sit for 2 hours.
I also agree with you, but
Yeah.
the way the lake book, the way the rules are written, if we're going to apply the rule of law, the way the rule is written, it says all, go ahead and read it.
Says POA docks at the boat launch access sites, common areas near swim beaches or parks, and other designated common areas are for loading and unloading only. Boats shall not be anchored, moored, or tied at these docks.
Which means during feast and ski, theoretically, that's saying that during feast and ski, there's nobody tied up in the clubhouse. During the concert,
Okay,
there's no one
so-
tied up in the clubhouse.
Would you agree or disagree, and I'm bringing these things up so you have these discussions. Would you agree or disagree that we need to bring this to the lake committee to have the rule modified? Because right now, the rule is it's not being paid attention to by anybody before the restaurant was open. Because I pull my boat in there, I tie it up.
Yeah.
And then I take my grandkids in, and we're inside saying hi to Lois, they all have to get a hug.
They might play on the
I
playground
get
for 2
ice
minutes.
cream, we go to the playground, they play in the playground, they get ice cream all over their faces, and then we leave.
And it's the same
It's
boat
a
pull
half hour.
up and go, kids go play
Right.
at the beach. It's been a practice, and I'm not
What do
saying
you-
one is one.
What does
way.
everybody think about that?
I think we need to approach the lake committee and have the lake rules modified.
Don't we modify the lake?
Well, they do
They
it,
bring
they
it-
suggest it to us, then we vote on it.
So we're suggesting
we're not
that they
doing-
suggest it to us. Is that what we're saying?
We're not creating the
Normally,
verbiage.
the way things happen
I'm
is
just asking.
the committee comes up with a recommendation to the board.
Okay.
So that we're not doing the work on the verbiage. It's
Unless you guys
we're
wanna,
approving.
if you guys wanna take up the time of the meeting to come up with new lake rules, I think that the lake committee is applicable in this situation.
Pointing out the iron.
I think I know it sounds a little goofy, but I think out of respect, they're the ones that have always done that. We
Well,
just,
assuming Jim's the one that emailed us.
you know,
Levi's the one that sent us that lake rule.
So
Who's on the lake?
he's suggesting us to suggest them to suggest
Correct.
us,
No,
is what you're
he's
getting at?
suggesting to us that we put signs out saying it's not
That we
allowed.
enforce.
That we enforce the
situation.
rule as it is.
Okay.
Which,
Well,
I think a
there's-
time limit on a loading zone or something like that is a little bit more like temporary 10-minute parking or something like that, or I don't care if it's loading and
well,
unloading,
in
that's
the
fine.
loading zone, how many boats get dropped and need to park in the loading zone for a short period of time while they park their trailer? 2 or 3 at the most at one time. And there's spots for 8 boats there on the pier opposite the gas pier. So if we designate the 3 closest to the parking lot as loading and unloading, take the rule out, so
Depends
then
on the
we
size
can
of
put
your
up
boat,
signs
but
and do whatever we want. Do the 3 up front for people who are by themselves, put their boat in and then pull their truck out. And the rest of it could theoretically be for parking, and then that also frees up the other side of the beach. There's boat parking there too. But right now, no one can park anywhere because of the lake rule. If you're going to adhere to the rule.
I guess we probably need to bring up the whole.
yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I have not been looking forward to this, but
I know.
it's gonna cause a problem.
That's why I asked you about, that's why I've been asking about what we're gonna do about docks, because I've been asked multiple times by people, so.
Lake, are you the lake,
He's the lake.
guru?
Yep.
Okay. I would suggest that we bring this to the lake committee and
To strike that rule.
Modify.
I think we need to, I think 2 things need to be brought up to the lake committee. One is, the rule as it stands has never, ever been enforced the way it's written. And I can attest to that myself. So people in the neighborhood pull in there, park their boat, and they do whatever they want. Forget that the restaurant was ever there. They go to the marina, they get food, they go to the
And the intent of the rule was so people don't park your boat there overnight,
Absolutely.
or, you know what I mean? I understand the intent, but I feel like the rule needs to be stricken, and then we can put signs up or have another rule put in that says, these spots are for here, and if you're going over by the playground and you're gonna moor up on the beach or, you know, whatever, or during concert, we can do this, but I think the rule as it's written
Is it K?
M,
And
M?
M.
I personally think we can put all the signs up you want, but as busy as that restaurant was this weekend,
Oh.
you're gonna have to have a parking police out there to, you going to the restaurant, or you gonna be back into it? Because people's gonna do it anyway. They've left their
Chalk
place.
boats.
Pardon?
I hear chalk the boats.
Oh.
Chalk the boats.
We put little
sticky, like
meters
that
out there that have a timer that like will drill a hole in the bottom of the boat if it goes past.
I told Ken,
These drills are gonna come out of the dock if you don't leave in 30 minutes, and it's gonna drill a hole right in your boat, so.
Stop, you're stuck.
I told Ken, I had 2 people come up and get gas. Give them the ticket, they go in to pay, and as soon as they pay, they go right into the restaurant.
Stayed at the gas pump. That's contrary to common sense.
Yeah.
It
Just
is,
run the
but
pump
there's a lot of
across their
non-common sense.
boat to the next boat. Just use their boat as a dock.
We only got room for 2 boats at a time there.
Double park it.
Well,
Walk
if there's
over
someone
it.
launching you.
Well, I think logically, that common sense is also
I
applicable
mean,
from
to do
a
that at the gas
employee
station, in the
standpoint.
parking lot.
go in immediately, find out who it is, and go
I
send
did.
somebody to the bar and say, hey, get your boat out of here, come on. I got other people want gas.
I did that.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm just gonna throw something out there. What do you think about this first come, first served, and we'll deal with it when we make it up?
That's about it.
Nobody will be able to get gas.
No, I'm talking about on the other side.
Oh,
Gas
okay.
parking has
Gas
gotta
parking.
be
That's
state.
That's what Nina suggested.
We got employees that can at least help monitor that,
Strike the
and if
rule.
they,
And then
I ain't kidding you, I
let's
mean,
see at the end of the year what the rule should be.
we'll do something with that boat if they wanna choose to go in there, but.
We can't even make a rule because we don't know what our marching orders are gonna be this season. So I feel like we should strike the rule or not, or let the community know it's not gonna be enforced. Don't park in front of the gas pump. Everything else is first come, first served. As problems arise, we cross that bridge, we make that rule, we reinstitute whatever. Because I feel like if we go to the lake committee now and ask them to change that rule, we're gonna change it to something that's not gonna make any sense a year from now.
I just think the not having a loading and unloading area is not fair to the people that are trying to launch their boat.
Even as busy as it was this weekend, I did not see a single time when there were not at least 2 spots opposite the gas pump where loaders and unloaders could have tied up to go park their
Yeah,
truck.
we're
I
just
honestly
assuming
didn't.
that at any given time, that the whole site is gonna be filled with people at the restaurants. It could happen, but unlikely. I mean,
I'm just thinking after this weekend, we haven't even started
The
summer
holiday.
yet.
Yeah.
Like summer for a lot of people doesn't start because kids just got out of school on Friday.
Yeah.
For a lot of
I mean,
schools.
they were at max seating.
So if it's
Every night I was
full,
there. I
if
tried
it's
to go.
full,
I don't
and
know.
somebody tools down there to go to the restaurant, it's full, they got no place to park.
I'm saying
They
the
gotta figure it
opposite.
out
I'm
themselves.
saying the opposite. You're trying to launch your boat and it's full of people at the restaurant and you have nowhere to park your boat because you're by yourself to launch your boat. That's a
To move
problem
your truck.
because that's not fair.
Yeah, you're right.
Like that, like the intent of those docks
Yeah.
is so you can launch your boat. It is not to park for the marina for your convenience. Like
Well,
I
yeah.
will fight you on that because that is.
But I
That's
don't
the
know
whole
that
point of all these temporary registration parking areas. I understand people wanna
Yeah.
vote up and go to the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to start a donation for building those docks out. Like everybody else is asking for donations. I mean,
I'll take it.
if that's where we wanna go with that, cause we gotta at least leave some people
I think
a
that,
place to unload and load your boat if you have to do it by yourself.
Yep, I agree with you, and honestly, not one day this weekend was there not a spot for that. There was at least 2 spots open. And I know we haven't hit summer yet, but we also can't predict how it's gonna be.
I've been approached by 6 or 7 people just over the weekend in the restaurant asking me when we were going to put piers out for boat parking.
I don't want to.
And my answer to them was as soon as as soon as the people who want piers come up with enough money to build them. And that's really where we're gonna be on piers until the 4-year program is over. Because in order to get, just so everybody understands, in order to get boat parking for, like, maybe 10 boats, $30,000. Okay, so add that, just take 30,000, keep multiplying if you want 20 boats to park out there, or 30 boats to park out there. And it can all work because there's plenty of room for those docks. However, they're expensive, and at this point, we already have close to $30,000 of private money earmarked for those, if in fact we get to that point. So if someone comes up to you, or someone suggests that it's time for us to consider that as a board, as soon as, it's like everything else, we just have to have, a plan. We think there's probably, the plan's gonna be easy to come up with, but we've gotta have the money. Because we're not going into any of our funds, because we've got a 4-year program that we're gonna follow.
And the money's not there.
Right. Yes.
To AJ's point, and somewhat to yours, if everybody here remembers, we built a swimming pool on donations. How much was that?
That was good.
It was a lot, okay? We built it on donations alone. It's not out of the realm of possibility to build docks on donations.
Okay, so in the meantime, I think you've got information to just throw to the lake committee. We don't need a new rule yet. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is there needs to be conversation in that committee. And at this point, we need to be, I guess, see what happens and be courteous. Anybody else have anything before
That I know.
adjourn? Anybody? I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
As Charlie would say, those opposed, you can stay.
For probably
Rick, you still with us?
4 or 5 years that I had it with us.
I would
Two
leave
times.
the message.
2 times a season.
You're so busy?
Do you have anything?
I just,
I'll probably get stopped by every person on the lake. I need to ask you a question, Ken.
it,
Are we still on the internet?
We are off the internet now.